Hey everybody, Scott Barboza for ESPNBoston.com. High schools one last time this hockey season, meeting you at the TD Garden here, along with our correspondent, as always, Bruce Lerch. Bruce, let's rewind the clock all the way back to 9 o'clock. Again, another Catholic Central battle between old rival St. Mary's of Lynn, Arlington Catholic, Adriana Rossini, again scoring some big goals on the playoff stage, but perhaps our best player in the state, Allison Butler, just a little bit better.
I think one thing we've learned this season is even when it looks like the chips are down at St. Mary's, you do not bet against Coach Frank Pagliuca. You do not bet against Allison Butler. And Allison came through, 2 minutes and change left in the game, walks in, a 2-on-1, and the best thing about it was she told us afterwards, never had any intention of passing it. She had her shot, she was just waiting for the moment to strike. She picked her target, she hit it like the great player that she is.
Let's move along. We had a bunch of rematches here today, which I think was a great underlying story here. Duxbury and Falmouth. Duxbury, again, the three-peat, one of two programs here tonight that have won three straight championships in their division here. Liz Collins, again, the sophomore, coming up huge. 2 straight years scoring the game-winning goal.
And you know what? It's a great reward for a player like her because, obviously when we talk about Duxbury, we talk about Hannah Murphy, Marissa Fichter, Rachel Myatt in the goal, and we talked about her again today too. But Liz Collins is one of those grinders on this team. She's been a role player here. She's accepted her role gracefully. She's played anywhere from the first to the third line. So to see a kid like that come through on the big stage like this for the second time in a row and get the big goal, it's just it's a just reward, and it's kind of a microcosm for the other players on the team that are like her.
Mm-hmm. Moving along, Division III here, the first of our boys' championships here tonight. Westfield here 2 years ago, a little hiatus last year, returns this year, wins their 3rd overall title. Coach Matthews pretty coyly playing it in the post-game whether he'll come back. Says he wants to just enjoy this one a little bit and kind of decompress from the season a little bit like most of us this time of the year. But again, I think we saw this Westfield attack all year long, put up really big numbers across the board in Western Mass, and they really didn't disappoint here today.
No, and it was nice to get a look at them finally. For those of us who mainly focus on Eastern Mass teams, we weren't sure what to expect from them coming in, and we knew Swampscott had a great ride through the North Tournament, and coming in here, maybe they weren't at full strength here, but Westfield came in, they put on a show, and they really showed that, hey, they really were worthy of all the accolades they've been getting throughout the regular season.
We'll get into Division II and Division I here. 2 Middlesex League teams trying to repeat, both come in here tonight and do it successfully. Start with Wilmington again, Franklin again, bridesmaid, never the bride. Tough situation there for Coach Spillane and his troops, but again, I think this Wilmington team, which we talked about a little while ago, being on the cusp of the Super 8, definitely showed here tonight why they were the best in Division II.
And you know what? I'll say this too, Scott, about the Middlesex League. Every year when the Super 8 stuff comes up, there's always a lot of grumbling about this and that, and why is the Middlesex League always considered? Well, this is why. We had 2 state champions come out of there, and we both repeating from the year before. Burlington in particular, very slow start this season, but boy, have they put it together at the end of the season. And really, how good is C.J. Cornell and Sean Murphy with a big day today? Yeah. 2 goals for them. I mean, huge.
They'll love that. Burlington, again, repeating, coming here. Marshfield, a team, we had the last 2 representing champions here facing off tonight. But Burlington, I thought Derek DeCastro had a tremendous third period. Somebody maybe gets overlooked when we talk about goaltenders across the strait because I think we've almost taken him for granted because he's been so consistent for them now for the last couple years, but really came to play in the third. And that Marshfield team can really score goals in a hurry.
No quit in Marshfield at all. I mean, they could have folded up the tent when the score started getting out of hand, but they didn't. They came back, they got one, they kept fighting all the way to the end. Those kids have a lot to be proud of today. Nothing to hang their heads about Marshfield.
Let's turn it over to the Super 8 matchup that we had here tonight. Our other 3-peat champion here tonight, none other than Malden Catholic. A game against Austin Prep that's, hard to start any better than the Cougars did here tonight, scoring goals 14 seconds into this matchup here tonight. You got to be feeling good if you're AP at that point.
No question. I think Noah Vesey threw the whole garden for a loop today. I mean, right off the opening draw, was 14 seconds in, just walked right in, roofed it. I don't think Connor Maloney was ready for it. I don't think we were ready for it. I don't think anybody was ready for it. But as it played out, Malden Catholic, they dug in. Things started coming eventually like you kind of figured it would, and then they just really put on a show there towards the end.
I almost think it was interesting hearing Louis Vinicario in his post-game comments. Almost said, sometimes that almost works against the team. You kind of play yourself into a little bit of complacency there with the lead, think you got things going the right way, and then obviously Malden Catholic, we saw again I think the concurrent theme of all these playoffs this year, I really think the best players came to play across the board. Again, that first line, very prominent. Tyler Sifferman with a goal, Nazarian with another one is, I think, the unmitigated most valuable player of the Super 8 tourney this year. But a little bit of a different group, I think, from Malden Catholic here in this third one that we've seen in the previous couple of years.
Without question, and it was one that took a while to come together. I mean, their kind of mid-season woes were well documented, but whatever the light switch was that Coach McLean and that group figured out, these kids got it together. They started playing like the team that we all thought they were at the beginning of the year coming into it, which was the best team in Massachusetts. And by the end of the season, we can say that that's what they are. And honestly, that's probably what they should be. As far as Austin Prep goes, you're talking about with Coach talking about maybe complacency. I think the other thing that works against them in this one is that Malden Catholic is simply too fast and too skilled for Austin to get away with the dump and chase game that they were able to do against St. John's Prep to get here. Malden Catholic won't have that. They'll just take the puck right off your stick and they'll do their thing, and you won't be able to get it back. I mean, there was one sequence, I don't even think it led to a goal, but I think they made like 6 consecutive passes without tape to tape. Nobody from the defense could get a stick on it. So.
Bruce, now that we've taken a look back at everything here in the 2012-13 season, put a wrap on this, let's take a brief little look ahead. Let's start with the girls' game. Some things that you might be looking for heading into next year.
Well, I think the teams to watch are going to be a couple of teams that we saw today. Division I, I really think that Arlington Catholic is going to be on a roll here for the next few years. A lot of this is hinging on whether the kids will stay. And that's the case for a lot of schools. But I think Arlington Catholic is kind of, even though they lost today, they're going to be the new power, I think, here for a while. It'll be interesting to see what happens with St. Mary's in terms of numbers and how the program looks. Division II, Duxbury and Falmouth, I don't see any reason why these two teams aren't back here again for a third straight, fourth for Duxbury, third for Falmouth next year. Falmouth, super young team, and they still have Maddie Scrivoto back there, who was terrific today. And will be stealing games for 2 more years for them. So kind of looking at those as kind of the top dogs as we head back into next year.
As you mentioned, it's tough to kind of look at a program that's won 4 Division I state titles here in Massachusetts, but I think perhaps the best coaching job that Frank Pagliuca has done came this year, especially with that bench.
Well, I think without question. I mean, they had 13 skaters on the roster and 3 goalies. What they went through with some injuries and putting 8th grade kids on the second line and winning shootouts. Ashley Rojo, Frank is a great coach. Everyone knows that. But this year, I think was a masterpiece by both him and his star player. Two of them together. I learned my lesson. We don't bet against them. And to be honest with you, I'm going to be real sad to see Allison, a player, as well as the other seniors like great kids. I really enjoyed covering them last. So, but yeah, masterpiece by them. No question. It's the first one to give it credit to the kids too, and they deserve some of that.
And of course, I feel too. Fully expect to see Duxbury and Falmouth back at the stage again, probably next year, which will be a good thing, I think, for girls hockey. Let's take a look at the boys, though. Of all the teams that we saw here tonight, who do you think might maybe have the best chance of repeating next year? And maybe some thoughts on Austin Prep here too, which I think if that nucleus stays intact here, I think this is probably just the beginning that we saw from that group.
Well, and I'll use the same comparison with Austin Prep that I just made with the Arlington Catholic girls. Yes, they may have lost tonight, but they graduated a lot of talent from the Catholic Conference. And again, St. John's knows how to do so if Austin Prep can keep this group together, it's hard pressed to pick another team that's got as much talent coming back as them. And now they've had the year of experience under their belts, and it's hard not to kind of, today, it's hard not to peg them as the upcoming favorite. Looking down to the other divisions, I mean, I'm not going to bet against Franklin getting another shot to get back here. 3 years in a row. Who's to say that they won't do it again? This was the year we thought maybe Canton would catch them or Oliver Ames as a surprise team or even Mansfield. In the end, they got here in Division II. Wilmington, moving up to D1.
Yeah.
If they were staying, in D2, they'd certainly be a favorite to get back here. D1, it'll be interesting to see. I know they're looking forward to it, so it'll be interesting to see how they react. And in Division 3, I think, we've got the Tri-Valley League teams like Medfield and Medway are always going to be strong. We've got the South Shore teams like Pembroke and Situate, always talented no matter what their records look like. And then, of course, with the North was so wild this year. It's, with Swampscott and Bedford as well, both kind of maybe surprise teams coming out of up there. So, it could be fun up there for D3.
Just maybe one or two surprise teams heading to next year, and maybe a couple players that we should be on the lookout for.
Surprise team on the girls, I'm going to go with Austin Prep. I think a lot of people are going to count Austin Prep out because Shannon O'Neill's graduating. But Coach Stephanie Wood has told me they've got some goalies in the pipeline, and they have a lot of talent. And now that young talent got a year of experience, I think next year we'll start to see that talent really blossom for them. Michaela Boyle, she'll be a freshman next year. Player to watch on the girls' side for the younger players, for sure. On the boys' side, surprise team. Man, that's a tough one. I'm stumbling a little bit here. I'm trying to think. Who do you have?
I don't know if it's maybe a surprise team, but a team that I think will surpass where they get this year, and that's going to be Winchester. I think we saw that playing Burlington, to that riveting shootout at Tsongas the other night. It's a very young group. If they bring Redler back into the core, get James Offner back between the pipes, I think Offner could be somebody who could really, potential dark horse player of the year candidate for next year. Again, it's all about the system there. They play it very well, and I think that Division I in the Middlesex, as usual, is going to be wide open. It'll be interesting to see, as you mentioned, with Wilmington stepping up and Burlington, what they have back in the cupboard coming off this tremendous run here. But they're going to be a team that I'll look out for, and somebody that I very much look forward to perhaps sneaking into the Super 8 next year as a public.
You know what? I'll pick one. As we're talking about it, I think we just said it. Wilmington, moving up for D1. Surprise team. They played some D1 teams this year. They gave Malden Catholic all they could handle in a game. I think Steve Scanlon is a terrific coach and an even more terrific human being. He's just a wonderful guy. Maybe that's a team. We're looking for a true surprise team. Let's get the guys moving up from D1. And actually, now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure Franklin's in that group too.
Yes, right.
So wouldn't it be funny if these two could get together for a third time, except this time it'll be in the Division I tournament. So, there you go. I'll give my two D2 finalists from the last 2 years moving up to D1 as my surprise teams.
Well, we'll see what happens before we get too far into next year. We're going to wrap things up for this year. Of course, everybody look out for our Mr. and Miss Hockey award winners to be announced on the site very soon. And of course, our all-state teams. And then, by the way, Mr. Lerch, lax season is upon us.
Lacrosse season begins in about 11 minutes as of right now here, so get those sticks ready. I was just talking to Arlington Catholic's Dan Brothers before he left tonight. He's all fired up working on the practice plan for tomorrow. So
it'll be a full spring, and of course we'll have you covered. But for the last time for the 2012-13 hockey season, for Bruce Lerch, I'm Scott Barboza. We'll see you next time on ESPNBoston.com High Schools.